you're talking to all these women, you're talking
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of Black women. What are some of the specific things that you see are coming up around self-care for honeys in particular? What are we really, really dealing with, struggling with, trying to overcome?
I would say one of the biggest things is, as people like to say, work-life balance. Um, I don't personally believe in balance. And so I was literally having this conversation earlier today with someone that I believe in work-life harmony. Because the
Mm,
reality is, to me, balance is always seen as don't fall. Because when you think about
mm,
someone on a tightrope, they're trying to balance themselves, and the goal is to not fall. When you're on a balance beam, stay straight, balance
yeah,
yourself, don't fall. When you're
yeah.
on a bike, balance yourself, don't fall. And so I think it puts this pressure of, I got to balance it because if I don't, I'm failing, I'm falling.
Mm,
And in
mm-hmm,
life, we have to fail forward, right? Like that's it's a part of the process.
yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of women struggle with the work, being able to feel like I'm showing up fully in my work, in my
Mm-hmm.
career, and I'm also, showing up fully in my life, personally, socially, etc., all
Yes.
of those things. Um, and they feel like sometimes I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job. I'm
Yeah.
I'm giving too
Yes.
much over here. I'm not giving enough over here. And it's like, 'tis life,
Yeah.
right? It's about understanding when to pace yourself versus when to push yourself. Because there are
Mm-hmm.
going to be times where your family gets a little bit more of you in
Mm-hmm.
that season, and sometimes your work gets a little bit more of you, but it doesn't make you any less of you, right? It's
Yes.
just how life works. No two sides of us are the same. Like, your
Yeah.
body is not balanced, right? Like, one boob is
Child,
bigger than the other.
this left hip tight. Okay, she's always tight. I'm like, okay, sis, you never gonna loosen up. Just
Just, that's
be
what
more
she
like the
is.
right, right.
She like, no, work with
No,
it.
right,
Work with it, harmony, find your way. And you do. You get up and walk every day,
right.
tight hip and all, right? So that's all I'm saying. That's okay. And it's okay.
Yes,
And I think people, we need to hear it's okay. So I feel like
it's
the
okay.
work life balance is a big one. And being a strong friend is another big one that I hear a lot of people saying,
Ooh, let's
because
talk about that.
mhm,
Get into it. Strong friend.
strong friend, because for a lot of people, they will say, like, I'm the one in my circle who is the go to, right? People come to me for everything, and not even just in their circle, maybe in their family, right? I'm that person. And so, but where do I land? What's my soft space to land?
Yeah,
And so it's hard. It's
it's
hard to create that boundary, because then there's that, and that, so that's the third kind of pillar that I feel like. So work life
hmm
balance, being that strong friend or family member, or the person that everyone comes to,
yeah,
and then last but not least, um, boundaries, being able to say no or say yes, right? Because when you say no to someone else, and essentially you're saying yes to you, and that's
yes.
okay.
Oh, I love that reframing, honey. When you just
Say
the
no,
idea, I'm
yeah.
saying yes to myself more. I love
Yeah. And
that.
so it's not about, I think it's always this negative connotation, like, say no, say no. It's like, but I am saying yes to something. I'm saying yes to me. So if,
Mm,
even if someone's like, can you show up and be here? And you're like, no, I can't be there. But you're saying, yes, I can be here. I can be present at home for me. I can get, ahead on I can
yes.
rest. I can take time.
Child, you are having I'm having a shift right now. Okay. I need everybody to know I'm having a shift for
Yeah,
real because I think too with ambitious women, there's also a lot of demands on your time, especially when you come from a certain type of place, right?
that's it.
Where you also really want to give back all the time. And one of the things I struggle with is like, how much giving back can I
How
do in,
much?
in a week? You know what I mean? Like, uh,
True.
so like,
True.
how do I reconcile that? How do I find ways to say yes and be able to say no? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something that I see. And then and I think that goes in with the strong friend, the strong family member, the strong mentor, like
Yep.
all of those pieces is really, really challenging.
It's really challenging, like you said, when you are hyper focused, highly driven, ambitious. And for a
Yeah.
lot of, us, sometimes we come out of spaces where we're the first person to be like this. We're the
Yeah.
first of the many, that will come after us, but we're the first in our families or the first in our circles,
Yeah.
sometimes. And so you know, it's a blessing, and sometimes it can feel like not a blessing. I don't want to call it a curse because I don't think it's a curse, but it can feel not so much
A,
like
a
right.
lot.
It can feel like a
Yeah, I
lot,
didn't want to
right?
say a
Feel a little.
burden.
It
It
can
just
feel like a little weight, like a
it
little
can
weighty.
feel a little weighty.
It's a little weighty. I don't know about all of this. I didn't know I signed.
Yeah, I know, God. It was in the fine print.
I
Okay.
mean, did you get over on me? Because I'm feeling like you might have. And so I think sometimes we are, and it goes back to that whole piece of wanting to be with that representation. I
Yes.
think we want to be
Yes.
the representation too,
Yeah,
and
and the
so
responsibility that comes with that.
the responsibility. And I think one of the things that helped me free myself was that, Candice, you are not always, and there's a reel somewhere on my page about this, and I kind of had my own epiphany, but it was like, you're not always meant to be the person that's going to sow the seed or plant the seed, water it, and harvest it. Maybe your job is just to plant it and let somebody else come along in those people's lives that are going to water it, that are going to tend to it, that are going to nurture it, and then ultimately somebody will harvest it. But a lot of times we think we're supposed to be all
So,
pieces.
oof.
And so I was
Yeah.
like, it's more about me figuring out what piece am I actually supposed to play.